Why would you be advised to not buy another house before you actually got divorced? Or on the opposite end, why would you be advised to hurry up and have that expensive medical surgery done before you file for divorce? These are real questions that pop up more often than you might think, and they're crucial in a couple of the states. There's 9 community property states, and they are Arizona, California, Idaho, Louisiana, Nevada, New Mexico, Texas, Washington, and Wisconsin. Alaska is an opt-in state. So I wanted to go through a story, and I'll cite the book that I got the story from at the end of the YouTube video. Um, but I just feel like it kind of brings these questions to life, because they are more important than you might think. So this lady says that my husband served me with the divorce papers. My attorney told me that I should not leave the house. He wanted her to stay in the house rather than moving out and getting a different place. She says, I had gotten to a place and point after living in our home for 2 months following the divorce papers being served that I had become literally a wreck. My husband would scream at me every day to get out, get out. Sure, I don't know if you've been in that situation, but that can be a really precarious situation where one person does not want the other person in the house, and that's really difficult when kids are involved. So anyway, back to the story. And I was trapped by my attorney's instructions. My husband had moved out of our bedroom and into a guest room. However, he would invade my room at all hours of the day and night, which is understandable because it used to be his room. Walking through, he would do this and that, all very calculated. I had not I had not just started shaking, but my whole body would convulse. I could not buy another home as it would then become communal property. I was completely boxed in. Some dear friends called me and told me to go out and find a house. They would buy it and I could rent it from them. Talk about a gift from God. It was a small house, but it was a good size for a now single woman with 2 kitty cats, and it fit all my needs. We had a 30-day escrow, which was unheard of then. I had to keep things quiet about the moving. I was found out the day before. My girlfriends came in and helped me pack my things. The mover came in the morning. I can remember that first night. Um, I walked around this little house and was so delighted, so relieved. I climbed into bed that night with my 2 cats, and no one walked in the room and in the middle of the night, and I had my little house all to myself. It was so freeing. First of all, what nice friends. But there's 2 really important things to notice in this story. One, that her attorney advised her not to buy another house before her divorce was finalized, and 2, to keep the move quiet. Why would he have advised that? Well, it was probably in one of these communal property states, the Arizona, California, Idaho, Louisiana, Nevada, New Mexico, Texas, Washington, or Wisconsin. Alaska's opt-in. Those states use community property as a guideline for property settlement in divorce. So in a community property state, the husband and wife are typically considered equal owners of marital property. Whatever you earn or acquire during the marriage is co-owned by both parties, regardless of who owned it and whose name was on the title. So in communal property states, the standard is 50-50 split no matter what, except for a separate property, which is in a different video that I cover. Um, so how did she get around this? Well, her nice friends bought a house, so the house wasn't in her name, so that the husband couldn't claim that new house, that new little cute house that she has now, as half his. So she kind of bypassed that that rule that could have really hurt her in the long run. And then I have actually a client who had the debt scenario. She had been in sports in college and she had hurt her shoulder. And she got married and just kind of trudged through life, but her shoulder hurt her, but it wasn't really a priority to get it fixed. Um, but when her husband started talking about divorce, she hurried up and got that surgery over. Even though it wasn't anything urgent, she wanted to have it done so that her husband would have to legally be responsible for half the debt of the surgery. I mean, they had insurance and everything, so it wasn't like a huge medical expense, but I've seen that work both ways. So I'll leave that up to you to decide like what's right and wrong, but I'm just giving you the facts of what people are doing. So, what is the difference between California, Arizona, and all those other 9 states and the rest of the United States? Well, those are community property states, and everyone else are equitable distribution states. So, whereas the community property just says like 50-50 down the middle, it's pretty black and white. There's a lot more gray area in the other side where it's equitable distribution. And the goal is not a 50-50 split, it's a fair and equitable split. And so that may not mean 50-50. If it ends up going to trial, the judge will look at different things like the length of the marriage, the age and the health of the parties, the income and future earning capacity of the parties, the standard of living established during the marriage, the value of homemaking and childcare provided during the marriage, the value of the investment one party made to help with the education and training of the other party. And this hit home for me because I filed for divorce in South Dakota when I could have filed for divorce in another state. It does make a difference where you get married, but I may have been favored a little bit differently if I would have filed for divorce in a different state. Like we had lived part-time in Arizona, and Arizona is one of the community property states. So rather than the judge looking at a fair and equitable distribution, he would have been looking at a community property distribution. Hindsight's 2020. Like I don't regret it. I've learned so much, and I'm passionate about educating other people about the ins and outs of divorce. But I know that I was not aware of that at the time, and I wish I would have been. So some of the things that I think that my judge looked at in deciding, because our case did go to trial a couple times. Um, some of the factors that I think that the attorney looked or the judge looked at in our case was the length of the marriage. We were only married for 6 years. The age and health of the parties. My ex-husband was quite a bit older than me, and I was younger, so that means that I had more time to establish a second career, which I am doing. Um, let's see, the income and future earning capacity of the parties. Well, I was a stay-at-home mom, so I didn't have any income, but I did have future earning capacity. Um, the standard of living established during the marriage. So we lived a very lavish lifestyle. So that bar was set pretty high. Um, but I mean, everything else weighed into it as well. Not that wasn't the only factor because we had only been married for 6 years. Um, let's see, the value of homemaking and childcare provided during the marriage, that I was really strong in because I was the primary caretaker. And then the value of the investment one party made to the help with the education and training. I mean, we had gotten married after all of that had already been established, so again, that didn't play a part into it. Did play a part into the judge's decision, but in my ex-husband's favor for that one. So just something to consider. I think that knowledge is power, and most likely you're going to need an attorney if you have um, a divorce that the parties aren't agreeing on things, but it just really helps to be informed of what the playing field looks like so you don't waste time spinning your wheels, because spinning your wheels, like fighting with each other, means it that translates to attorney fees, which benefits neither of the parties. So do your homework, get really educated, spend time educating your spouse if necessary, with like neutral sources where they can look it up as well, to try to keep the attorney time as limited as possible. So I hope this video helped you. If it did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Take a look at my newsletter, sign up for that on divorceowl.com/opt-in, and keep your chin up because you are an overcomer. So the book that story came from was Rebuilding After Divorce, Making Your House a Home Again by Rose Sweet.